Alright, hello everybody, Arlington Matrix. Today, we're going to look at a quick Blender tutorial. We're going to look at how to do 2D animations using the 3D modeling program, Blender. And this should be pretty interesting. I haven't used Blender in 5 years. I am by no means any kind of expert or authority on it, but we'll see if I can fumble my way through this. It has the capability of doing 2D, because if it can do 3D, it can do 2D just as well. So we're going to take a look at animating a simple character. A few years ago, I did the same with Synfig Studio, which is a legit 2D animation software. However, I found that their recent updates have made it impossible for me to use that software. So we'll see how Blender does for it. Let's see. We're going to add a camera first thing. And if we're doing two-dimensional, you could do perspective or you could do orthographic. I prefer orthographic because then I don't have to worry about whether my images are going to appear distorted. We're also going to add a plane. Nice and visible. And that's the basics that we want to start with. We have our camera and we have our plane. Now, one other thing that we might add to this scene, just so that it will render, we're going to be adding a light source. And in this case, we'll use a sun. So basically, I'm just rotating this RX to rotate. The strength of the sun is going to be 1. Yeah, that should be good. We technically don't need shadows. Now in the viewport, we have this square here. What we're going to do is we're going to load our image into the background, and we're going to kind of try and map something of a cage around the image. Okay, so you're going to select the camera, and we're going to select a background image. All right, so we have our friendly character. This is, of course, stretched to fit the camera. We don't necessarily want that. We'll just fit it, and then we'll scale it down like 0.5. I think that's good enough. And having this as a reference, we're going to put this on wireframe shading. And basically from here, it's all pretty simple. You want to make sure that we're not going to go through like the entire thing. Well, maybe we will. But basically, you just want to make sure that this wireframe encompasses the entire image. We're going to hit E to extrude. We're just basically moving these points around. I'm using the G key to position these. Shift middle mouse button to move the camera around. So we're at the base of where our arms are going to be located. So what we're going to do is a little bit outside. And this allows us to bring the arm outwards here. Oops. Middle mouse. Again, I haven't used Blender in quite a long time, so I'm not entirely up to date on it. This hand is basically just going to be like a glove. And we're going to mirror that exact same thing on the opposite side. So where the elbow is, I'm putting these 3 points. That's going to make it a lot easier when the cage transform. If the arm has to move up or down, it's going to allow an area for it to pinch. So that'll be a useful thing to have there. Now, depending on how difficult or how specific you want to get with this, you could also subdivide this so that you have a separate region for the mouth, such as doing this, and then subdivide. And that'll allow for all sorts of facial expressions and such. So if we wanted to, we can move those around as well. We can add a shape key. I don't imagine that'll be necessary. So this completes our wireframe. Go back to the camera, we can turn off that background image. That just leaves us with this, this wireframe. We're going to go to the UV editing tool and kind of see what that looks like there. We're going to be applying a material using nodes. Base color is going to be an image texture. We already have that sitting right here. It is unfortunate that it does not seem to allow for an alpha channel. That would be nice. We'll have our character loaded. I'm going to select all of these, hit the U key, and unwrap it. And basically, there's probably a better way to do this, but I'm just going to fit these two on top of one another. Make sure that this all fits, looks good. Everything seems to line up pretty well. If we change the view mode for this, it's starting to look okay. We'll look right over here. We should see that should be alpha. We're going to be adding an armature, which is going to allow us, to animate this. So first we'll create the spine. Alright, that gives us some named bones that we can use. This will help us in defining our vertex groups, which we're going to have here. Left and right shoulders are more just there for show. We don't actually need to add anything to them. Just another quick trick here. We're also going to assign these with a weight of 0.5 to both of these groups so that they have kind of an equal influence on that. And what this should look like, if we take this and go into pose mode. Before we do that, obviously. What we're going to end up doing here is we're going to add a modifier for the armature. And based on these vertex groups, that'll allow us to enter pose mode and move our limbs around. This kind of clips through the head. There's a trick you can use to fix that, and that's to rotate the arms forward a little bit. As for the viewport display, that wire so that it doesn't interfere so much. So now if we want to pose this, we can in pose mode. You can see how this, that doesn't look good. Move the hands. We can see that this this really does kind of act like a cage transform. Some of this doesn't look as good as others. Like Yeah, I haven't assigned the, as we can see there. Always good to kind of play around with this sort of thing. That way you know if you need to assign some stuff here. Right, lower, and upper, these belong in both groups. Back to pose mode. Oh, come on, select it, select it. Come on, no, no, that's not it. That's it. Pose mode, let's see if that fixed it. Yeah, that looks like it fixed it. You can see it doesn't look perfect, but it's better than the alternative of having nothing. Now this kind of adjusts. We don't want to see that so much. Do we have that on this side? We have it a little bit on this side as well. You want to have kind of as many of these as you can get. You can maybe take this and then subdivide it. Do it a couple of times. So that you can kind of move these around. Assign these a half weight. There's all sorts of things you can do to kind of finesse when you're close to being finished, like this. Still doesn't maybe look great, but you can modify kind of the influence on each of these points to make it look better. Yeah, you can do some kind of crazy stuff with this. So let's reset this pose. And we'll look at animating this now. Alright, so then the rest of this is basically just keyframing, figuring out what sort of animation you want to have. So we're in pose mode, as you can see. Select any one of these bones. I don't think this one looks right, does it? This one looks a little weird. I don't know, he might not like me moving that one around too much. You can move it somewhere, some places though. You know what? Let's get our starting pose here. All right, so let's full character. Yeah. Give him another keyframe. Then from 40 seconds to like 60, he's going to do that pose that we did last time. So that's going to be... So from the first frame, if we play it, here we go. 1920 by 1080, whatever you want. Only doing 100 frames. Do that, putting in a temp directory. Do AVI JPEG, because why not? Oh, that's where I am. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't look right, does it? That's why. I think... that's probably it. All right. Specular diffusion. That's better. Potentially, you could actually get like full mouth movements if you could like animate it like this, and there are ways to do that. Pretty simple, I guess. This is a very simple tutorial. I'm not going into very many details, and there's a lot of stuff that I actually don't know about Blender since I haven't actually used it in like, I don't know, like 5 years. So there's some features that I just don't know about. If you know a better way of doing this, then feel free to leave it in the comments below. And if you found this tutorial helpful, then definitely leave a like, subscribe, etc. You know, if you make something cool with this, then I usually like to see what my viewers get up to. So feel free to link it in the comments as well. I'm Arlington Matrix, and have a great day.